All right, share that screen again. All right, becoming the neighborhood expert. Let me do slideshow. All right, from the beginning. All right. So first and foremost, why do you want to become a neighborhood expert? Well, first of all, it gives you the confidence. Once you get that in-depth knowledge of a neighborhood via the different tools we're going to show you today, it could be a street, it could be a neighborhood, it could be a town. There's different definitions of what a neighborhood could be. So it could be the community, the community expert, whatever. So don't get caught in the weeds there. But what it does is when you go through some of these activities, you start learning that you're growing more and more of a depth of knowledge about a neighborhood, and that in turn increases your confidence. And when you can speak with confidence to a potential client, or even at a party or a social gathering when those happen again, you're at a Christmas or a family function, or you're at a school thing and you're talking to another mom, you never know when something could come up. And to be able to just start talking with confidence about a particular community or neighborhood, what that ends up doing is increases the credibility that you have, as well as the trust that other people are going to have in you. And as you know, that just all just builds onto each other, and it leads to them turning to you for questions instead of asking trusty mom and dad, or turning to the interwebs and asking everybody on Facebook and next door how to get something done. They might call you instead and say, you know what, gosh, you seem to know so much about this, what do you think? And that's kind of how you start engaging in growing those relationships with the people in the community. And then, of course, it goes into your personal value proposition. So, my personal value proposition is, you know, I'm hardworking. I will work harder than anybody else will. I have integrity, I have ethics, and I have a depth of knowledge that nobody else will have. So you use these kinds of things to populate your own personal value proposition as it relates to your own brand. And then last but not least, the four things that sell a house. Dan Elzer taught a class several years ago, and I took it. It was part of a, gosh, I can't remember what it was called, but it was fantastic. And I went to it, and one of the things that he had said, which resonated with me, and I use it to this day when I'm speaking with a client who maybe might not have a lot of these now, but you might need a price drop, or you might need the seller to do something for you that, to help sell a house. He had said in this class, he said, there's four things that sell a house. You control one. The four things that sell a house are price, condition, the market, and marketing. You only control marketing. We don't control the price. The seller controls the price. Condition, seller controls the condition. And then the market, well, we all know that's crazy right now. People are going $20,000, $30,000 over asking. The market controls the market. The only thing we can control is marketing, and becoming the neighborhood expert and growing your depth of knowledge for their neighborhood and the surrounding community is how you control that marketing of yourself, of your brand, and of your value proposition. Okay, so neighborhood identifiers. Historical points of interest, community events. This could be, sometimes it is right into a neighborhood. I know there are neighborhoods like over in by the White Coat neighborhood in 14620. They have over on Gregory Park, and of course I can't think of their names, Gregory Park, there's 3 streets. They do a picnic every year for the 4th of July. So these are the kinds of things that, you kind of have to go around. That's near the Lilac Festival. You want to know the points of interest. You want to know the community events. Village of Fairport, they do the Scarecrow every year for Halloween. They have their different festivals. You kind of know that. If you don't live in Fairport, you're going to want to become friends with Fairport on Facebook and kind of become immersed in what they're doing if you're thinking that you want to farm in Fairport. North Winton Village is a hot neighborhood. You might want to know there's some historical things. There's houses in North Winton Village and Browncroft that are historical. There's, you got to get in the community. There's the Historical Society that can help you, the library, of course, the internet, great points of interest that you can learn using the internet. But know the community events, know the restaurants, know the shopping, the schools, the parks, the programs that they have. All of this stuff is easy to find. I would suggest if you have a listing appointment, maybe it's in a neighborhood that you're not familiar with, drive around that neighborhood. This is old school stuff that we used to do back in the day. Drive through the neighborhood, stop in some of their boutiques or maybe a coffee shop or a restaurant. That way, when you go to speak to the seller or the buyer, you can say, oh my gosh, this is a great neighborhood. This, this coffee shop over here is fantastic. This boutique over here has some great selection of, gloves for the kids or whatever the case may be. You want to know the area, because the more you know the area, the more you're going to have that confidence again, and the more you're going to be able to build that credibility and that trust, whether it be a buyer or seller or just somebody you're prospecting and talking to.
Hey, Renee.
Yes.
I just want to point out that on this call, you've got Kathy Kehoe.
Yes.
Morning, Kathy. Kathy is a local expert and has been a noted neighborhood expert for a long time. We won't say how long, Kathy, but Kathy has, she embodies what you're talking about. So we have people in the company who have been doing this, and Renee mentioned old school. Kathy's been doing this old school and learning new school alongside it. I think it's really important that we remember we have people who are doing this really well. Try to reach out to them and find out, how did you build your career? How did you become that neighborhood expert? Her reputation in the Fairport area is impeccable. People love her, people know her, people respect her. That's what you're trying to do. That's what Renee's talking about. Exactly. You got to be all of that. So
right. So for example, to play off what Maggie's saying, for example, you get the listing and it's great. And, maybe you're new to the village of, and I'm going to sneeze any second with these allergies. But anyway, you have a new listing in the village of Spencerport or Pittsford, and maybe you're not familiar with it. You may go to a local pastry shop and bring, in this day and age, individually wrapped pastries that you can give out at your open house that not only supports a local business, okay, that you then go to and you give them your cards, but then also enables you to show, my God, this is a great house. And here's a neighborhood restaurant that was so wonderful in giving us their cookies or whatever to share with you today. Especially now with Halloween and the holidays coming up, it's a great little nod to some of the local, and it doesn't have to be food, of course. It could be little trinkets or things from a local shop around the area. People love that kind of stuff, and they're learning about the neighborhood too. It helps you sell that house. It helps you sell that neighborhood. The next thing we have on here is home features. So neighborhood identifiers. You're going to want to be familiar with the styles of the homes in a particular neighborhood, the acreage, the vintage, finished spaces, updates, garage space. Maybe it's on waterfront. If it's a new build community, you're going to want to be familiar with the builder and what their specifications are. It's a great way to call up a builder and try and get some information from them. Ask them what their specs are. You never know what that phone call can lead to. A lot of these builders are looking for new agents to help represent them. Some of them have had long relationships, others do not. So they're looking for those new relationships. You don't know what could come of it. Next thing is market trends. We're going to talk a lot about this today. You're going to want to dig deep. Market trends are the hugest thing. How many of us are getting annoyed that somebody lists a house so egregiously low that there's $50,000 over asking price? Well, that's tough to overcome. But you know what? If you're the market expert, you can demonstrate to your clients, listen, I have done so much work for you and I've looked into this and I know this market so well that, you know what, we need to right price this, especially now in the fall. You might want to price it a little higher. The traffic might not be there. So you want to dig deep into the market trends to really demonstrate your proficiency in that neighborhood, in the community. And then, of course, the future of the neighborhood. Gosh, how important is it to know what new builds are coming in, the infrastructure changes that might be coming? Are they going to be doing work on the expressway? Are they going to be developing behind your neighborhood? I mean, we just showed a house a couple weeks ago in Greece, and it was on a main road, and the buyer says, my God, what's going on with these lots next door? You know, we don't know what's going on. You know, I already knew because we had seen them. I had already called the owner of these 3 lots, which was an ambulance company. And I was like, what are your intentions with these 3 properties? Are you going to be building an ambulance thing on the corner? And he's like, no, we actually just sold it. So, you know, I was able to go back and share that information with the buyer. And, you know, he was able to make a decision based on the expertise and the information I was giving him. So you also gentrification of certain areas. This is a big one. You know, as baby boomers move, age into retirement, a lot of them are moving out. So you may notice that in a certain neighborhood, every year there's 5 or 6 listings going up in a neighborhood. You know, that's kind of a sign of gentrification. Whereas in another neighborhood, you may see, my gosh, you're lucky if one house gets listed a year, you know, then you know this is a rarity. You know, it's rare to be in that neighborhood. These are the kinds of things that build your expertise, allow you to speak confidently about something, you know, and it's okay not to know something. These things come with time, and you're gonna find yourself with time becoming that neighborhood expert in different areas and different pockets. It's impossible to know it all. Tools to build your expertise. This is what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the actual neighborhoods. So like we said, go in, drive around, talk to the neighbors. You might door knock, you might do some pop-bys, walk around that neighborhood. You know, you're going to learn, you know, this is a neighborhood where people love to ride their bikes and walk their dogs. And, you know, people are very friendly. They love to decorate their homes for the holidays. You can those are the kinds of things that you might not know if you've never been to that neighborhood. Calling the town offices is huge. You can get information on taxes. So this is one I've done. You know, I've called the town offices more times than I can count. They are invaluable in telling you what their tax rates are. So as you guys know, especially now, you're looking at a house with a buyer and the assessment is 200. They're listing it for 299. They get 320. Well, you know the taxes are based on 200 because that's what's assessed at. I usually do it about every 2 years because the tax rates don't change wildly. I call and I say, what is your tax rate based on $1,000 of assessed value? And they will tell you, oh, it's usually between $35 and $45 per thousand. That way I can then talk to my buyers and say, well, listen, you need to understand that eventually it's going to catch up to you. If you're paying 320 on a house that's based on 200, you need to understand that your taxes are going to go up. Because the last thing I want is for 3 years from now, that buyer to get a huge tax bill and go, well, my realtor never told me this. Because guess what? They're always going to come back to the realtor. It's always going to come back to you. But if you know you told them that, they know. And they're going to respect that information, that they are going into writing an offer with both eyes open. Town offices can also tell you about any deed restrictions for that particular neighborhood. Now, you know, obviously, one way to tell, someone comes in and they say, gosh, you know, I want to put a fence up. I got 3 dogs. And I don't want to do invisible fence. I want a real fence. We want privacy. Well, obviously, you look around the neighborhood. Who's got fences? You don't see fences in the neighborhood. There may be a deed restriction or a covenant related to that neighborhood. What you need to do, you need to call the town. Find out, are there any restrictions with this neighborhood on pools or fences or anything I need to understand? You give them the address. They will tell you. You do this before you list a house. You do this when you're looking to buy a house. If you know your buyer has a specific need, they want to put an above ground pool in. They might not be able to do that. And you want to find out that they can't do that before you get too far into the process. Because again, they're going to come back to you. Especially with new builds, this is important. And this is a great way to call that builder and say, you know what, do you have the deed restrictions, or are there any covenants from when you built in this neighborhood? You know, I'm interested in knowing more about this neighborhood, and this is good for me to know. This is what establishes you as a neighborhood expert. Town offices can always also tell you about programs and more information. They might know about what restaurants are coming into town. Huge. I had a listing in Irondequoit, and this was like 2 years ago. I was able to tell everybody that came in, guess what? Murphy's is opening up in a month down the street, just so you know, it's going to be walking distance. Maybe not everybody would have known that, but doing your homework beforehand helps you to get that kind of information. Other agents, builders, and lenders. This is, we talked about the builders. Lenders are huge too. I mean, if you're working with a lender that you have worked with for years and years, talk to them. You don't know what kind of business they've done in a neighborhood. They may know more about that neighborhood and give you kind of some tips and some information that they might know about a neighborhood. They will help you get some information too. Some of these lenders will put together information sheets for you about what schools, restaurants, shops, and other things are close to a neighborhood, so you can have that for your marketing, for a listing, or for your buyers. Other agents, this is huge. It blows my mind how many of us don't call other agents. And you kind of learn as you go. Definitely talk to your manager. They can kind of, I know my manager back in the day is one who kind of gave me, I would go through it. I'm like, I'm going to be listing in this neighborhood. And we would say, okay, who are the top agents in this town or this neighborhood? And then he would go through, don't call her, she won't talk to you. Don't call her, she's not going to call you back. And, you know, you just know, you know, how not to waste your time. And, you know, now I know who talks to me and who won't. And it's different. I've been in business for 10 years. So I know if I call Kathy Keogh, she'll talk to me and she'll give me a little insight. I know if I call somebody else, I'm not going to name names, they're not going to call me back. But I'll tell you, it blows my mind how many times I'll see a listing on a street and I'm like, why didn't that agent call me? I would have given the scoop to them. I would have told them I had 22 people through the open house. I had 8 offers. And, you know, this is one way to build your expertise. You go into a listing appointment, call some of those agents who had sales in listings in that neighborhood. So many times they will tell you. They're not going to be like, oh, where's that listing? They're going to say, okay. You say, listen, I got a listing coming up potentially in this neighborhood. I was hoping you can give me a little bit of insight into what you experienced during that, especially if, you know, maybe your listing's coming up in December. You know, you got someone who listed in December. Gosh, what was that like? And, you know, what was listed a house in December in this neighborhood like? Did you have the activity there? I'm trying to determine whether or not we should wait until December or we should wait till January to list this house. Don't be afraid. We're all here to help each other. And this isn't even limited to Howard Hanna. I've had agents from all co-brokes give me scoop on what's going on. And it's a great way to develop relationships with other agents. As you know, it comes in handy if you're going to be competing on an offer. Social media, learn, share, and interact. This is a no-brainer for those of you who are on social media. You know, follow the town, follow the neighborhoods that you want to be an expert in. The school districts, they're the ones you're going to see posting about the events that you can then share on your page. So you're kind of feeding into that on your own social media presence. And of course, interact. You know, there's a Moms of Rochester page. You want to interact there. Nextdoor, as much as I hate that page, I've gotten a lot of business from Nextdoor just by people posted on Nextdoor. Oh, I'm looking to do this on my house, or I'm looking to fight my assessment, and you jump in there. Oh, I'm a realtor. I can help you. They'll learn that in the next. I'll show you that on the next page. Matrix and Real Scout. So Matrix and Real Scout for the next ones. I'm going to show you all of this by sharing my screen to show you what all of this is. Matrix, Real Scout, Market Stacks in the GRER. That should say Realist, not Real Scout. Buy Side, Neighborhood News. Here's the Nextdoor. this is one thing I wanted to show you. So the left hand of the screen is somebody in North Whitten Village. So as some of you may not know, the city had a reassessment, gosh, I think it was about 2 years ago at this point. And everybody was posting on North Whitten Village. I mean, heads were spinning. I know Henrietta just went through one. I think Gates just went through one. I'll give you a little tip. Webster is getting ready to do a reassessment. So get ready, get yourself on Nextdoor. If you don't live in Webster, find a friend or a family member who will let you use their address to get into that neighborhood. So this person on the left writes about how they got their reassessment, their head is spinning, everybody's, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, how annoyed they are. I post, you can see right down there, it's because 14609 is the hottest zip code in the state. I explained it, and then I go on. I'm a realtor, would be happy to give you a free assessment of sales comps to try and help you get it lowered. Please PM me if interested. I helped about a dozen people. You can see 10 people smiled at that. Right here, you can see my 10 people smiled. One person I helped, they said, my gosh, you've been such a help. And I did everything I'm going to teach you today is what I did for these people. And she said, what can we do? Can we pay you? I said, no. I said, what you can do, I said, is that next time you know someone who's thinking about buying or selling a house, refer me. That's all I ask. So I got into about 12 different people's homes. 12 different people in North Whitten Village now think I'm the expert. They think I am the coup de grace in this neighborhood. I had one just reach out to me a month ago asking me if I knew anyone that could help her clear some stuff out. And then she knew, she was like, oh, and you just helped somebody I know buy a house. So she's making a connection. This one on the right, how about somebody actually listened to me? She referred somebody else in North Whitten Village to call me because he was thinking about selling his house. I went to his house and I did what I'm going to show you guys today. And he goes, oh my God, he goes, a hunt agent came here. She didn't even bring anything with her. She just walked through the house and gave me her opinion. I said, well, and he goes, he was thinking about moving back to Canada. He said, I'm thinking about selling my house. And I said, well, his name was Courtney. I said, well, Courtney, I said, if I work this hard just to help you understand the value of your house, imagine how hard I'm going to work for you when I'm actually your realtor. And he stopped me in the middle and he goes, I'm sold. He goes, you don't even need to keep talking. And he followed up with this email on the right. Thank you for coming to my house. And this is what I'm talking about. What you did was a lot of hard work, researching. I believe in what you say. I'm giving you trust. He was in limbo. And he says at the bottom, I will be selling this house at this time. I would like you to be my realtor. So it works, guys. A lot of times, and when you get started with this kind of stuff, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is cumbersome and this is taking forever. Yeah, it does in the beginning because you're learning. It's going to take an hour or 2 or 3, and you're going to go, my gosh, this is what Renee does. This is insane. I don't have time for this. Let me tell you something. After you do this and do this, it's like riding a bike. You're going to be able to do this kind of stuff in 45 minutes. This guy thinks I worked my butt off. No, I did this in 45 minutes and blew him away. And he was like, no one has ever done this. I competed against 3 Howard Hanna agents once for a listing. And I can't remember who it was. I remember Nina Malatesta was one of them. And I walked into that door and I said, I'm never going to get this listing. Nina Malatesta is like the girl next door. Everybody loves this girl. Never going to get it. I did what I'm going to show you today. And the guy was an engineer. He emailed me that night and he was like, the work you did to prepare us for listing this house doesn't even compare. Like what the other realtors doesn't even compare. They're like, you are our realtor, done. Since that day, this was 6 years ago, these people have referred me over $2 million worth of business. They tell everybody they know, you have to work with Renee. So it works, guys. So without further ado, let's do our deep dive, okay? We're going to stop this and we're going to get into the fun stuff. So we're going to get out of that. And now I'm going to share and we're going to go right into here. And if you guys, I'm going to ask Maggie real quick, when I switch screens, do you see it? Perfect. Okay. So first thing we're going to talk about is really the meat of the matter. We're going to talk about matrix. So again, some of you veterans out there might already do some of these things, and I'm hoping I teach you guys something a little bit new. All right, so we're going to use a property that I'm going to be showing as soon as I leave here today, and that property is 15 Caversham. Okay? I'm going to be showing 15 Caversham this afternoon. So the first thing I do is I put it up in the bar up here, the search bar. And you come up. So the first thing I can see is, my gosh, Caversham has been listed 3 times. I go into the active one. Okay, this is easy breezy stuff so far. Okay. First thing I always do is I look at the history, and I can see, and it blows my mind how many people don't look at the history, you guys. It really does. I can look right away. I have it. So when I go there with the buyer today, I'm going to say, well, guess what about Caversham? Okay. This house has gone under contract twice and died twice. So let's make sure that we're taking a really close look. I might call the agent on my way and say, gosh, you guys closed twice or died twice already. What is going on with this house? In this case, I don't need to because she actually discloses it, which you should. She discloses it in here. It's an as-is condition. And she says in here, there's some sort of drainage problem, which I think it says portion of wall in the finished basement open, showing potential drainage issue. Driveway settling. My guess is people did inspections and then killed the deal. So we're looking here. You guys know how to look at this. I'm not going to go into this right now. I'm going to show you, let's say my buyer today says, and I've already done this for Caversham, okay? So when I go to show this house today, I'm going to be able to speak to Caversham and the neighborhood of Caversham to them. So first thing I do, you're going to go to search single family. And Maggie, before we end today, remind me to talk about condos and townhouses, because that's a special topic as well. I know Fairport's talked about it a few times, but I want to make sure other people know, because doing this with condos and townhouses, it's kind of hard to be an expert because they all kind of so insular. But with condos and townhouses right now, I'm going to forewarn all of you, call the management company for those condos, call the listing agent and ask very, very pointed questions about whether FHA and VA is allowed, how many owners are renters, how many unit owners are renting that, because right now lenders are struggling with underwriting condos, not townhomes, condos. Okay. If you have more than 15% ownership or 10 or something like that, you can't go FHA. Even some of the conventionals are, you got to get I had one die a week before closing because the lender did their condo review and determined that one guy owned 25 units and they wouldn't underwrite it. It had to go to a large portfolio bank. And even then, it had to go through a condo review and the buyer had to put down 20% in order to mortgage that purchase. You want to know this before you go down that road. Okay, so first thing I do, guys, right here in the middle under map search, I write in Caversham. This is going to be cool, okay? I write in Caversham. Caversham. So it's 5 matches down here in the bottom right hand of my screen. You see 5 matches. 365, you see Caversham. I do map search. Okay. Here we are. We're in Pittsford. I like the way this is looking. Here's your tool to draw a polygon. I draw my polygon. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Take notes. Again, don't forget this is being recorded, so you can always refer back to this. So I do that. I go back to my criteria. I delete Caversham. And now I have the whole neighborhood. 26 have been active, continue to show under contract, pending, or closed. Now, what I do, okay, Because there's 26 in the last year, that's great. That gives me enough data, I think, to look at it and see what's going on in the last year. You might do 90 days if you want to look at maybe appraisal, if you want to get an idea of appraisal. Or if you don't have 14, if you don't have a lot of matches, you might go 1,100. 1,100 is 3 years. 1,100 is 65 matches. What I like to do, okay, so I got 1,100 in here. Now, some of you might be scratching your head going, well, why do you care about 1,100? Why do you care about 3 years ago? I care because I want to know the history of that neighborhood. I want to know when I go in to talk to a seller at a listing appointment, I want to know what's going on. You can even do 10 years and you can say, well, look, you do 3 years here, you go to results. This is where the magic happens, guys. Okay. So I go here, I put in contract date. So I'm going to show you guys what I did here. Okay. Excuse me. I sort by contract date. And you can actually print this stuff out. And I take my little ruler and my pencil, because I'm a little old school, and I draw lines between 2020 and 2019, 2019 and 2018. And then I could go to them with some actual statistics. And I say, well, in 2020, you had 38 houses that sold in your neighborhood. In 2019, you had, 10. So you can kind of see, what the trends of that particular neighborhood does. And that's what I'm talking about, setting yourself up to differentiate yourself against the competition. So what I've done here, a lot of agents don't know how to do this. Back when Matrix came out, some guy from Matrix came to RIT Conference Center and trained like 1,000 agents on how to do this. And then I think like a lot of people, it just kind of falls to the wayside. So I created a custom grid in Matrix. So I use Matrix when I want to do comps, when I prepare for a listing appointment, and when I am going to help a buyer determine values for a neighborhood. So you can see when you go into a regular, the default is agent single line. This is what everybody looks at. Well, gosh, I don't need Pittsford in there. I know it's in Pittsford. So what you do, you click on any area of the column that's not where the words are. You can see the little plus sign, the little compass. You click on that, you hit remove. What else could I care less about? Well, I could care less who listed the office, who the list office right was. I don't really want my seller. My seller doesn't care. He doesn't know what any of this means. I don't need that. Remove. And so on and so forth. But what I do want, he also doesn't need the ML. But I'll tell you one thing. Once you delete the ML, if you add the ML in, these links don't work. At least they didn't before. To add one, what would be important for me? I want to know the contract date. Here's the columns you can add. Search contract date. Click there. Apply. Oh, but you know what? I don't want it right there. I don't want my price there. I want my price to come after the address. You click and hold, and you can move this anywhere. I want my price to be after the address. I want my contract date to be the first contract. Why is contract date important and not list date? The contract date shows seasonality, okay? Contract date shows you the day they accepted the offer. So you might look at, the other one I think is important is days on market. So here you click contract date, insert, days on market is DOM. These are the kind of idiosyncrasies you're gonna have to learn. DOM is days on market. Apply. Okay. Oh, number of acres. That one's good too. If you have a neighborhood that has acreage, that might be important, especially with buyers or sellers. If they're like, well, so-and-so got 500,000 for their house. Well, so-and-so's got 2 acres, okay? The rest of you have a half an acre. So that helps you. But here, the days on market, you can see, Founders Green took 23 days to sell. They went under contract June 28th, but you have to keep in mind that they were, you know, they've been listed for 23 days. So at a glance, it can help you look at that. Another thing why you would look at that time thing up here, remember that Caversham. So this one you can see, the Caversham, you can see it kept getting expired. Well, she kept relisting it. So it looked like a brand new listing. So you go in there and you say, oh, you know, it's a brand new listing, and your buyer goes, no, it's been on the market for, you know, you don't want to look foolish. So that's another reason why you use this. As you can see, you know, one of the tricks of the trade is a market's getting stale, a house is getting stale, you relist it. So your grid will then be up here. See, mine says my Renee's grid. So I click on that. And what you do is this little thing right here, guys. It looks like a little widget. You click on that. Anytime you want to update it, you literally click set current display and it saves it for you. So anytime I want to do comps or anything, I don't have to redo all of this. It's already there for me. But like I said, you know, Caversham, they are all half-acre lots. You might have someone that, again, you're like, well, gosh, you know, I have a lot of acreage. I might be in the country. It might be a rural property. Maybe you're a waterfront. You know, maybe you are in a city property where there's a lot of finished attics. You might add attic description in there, because that's going to help when you're sitting there with a seller and they say, well, Bob across the street got 200 for his house, and you're telling me my house is only 160. Well, Bob across the street has a finished attic. Yours is not finished. That adds extra value to the buying pool. So what I do here, this is the big one, guys. You can move these here. You can click on any of these and sort by square footage. You can sort by close price, you know, so you can easily locate the properties. You can see I took the ML out of there. So for me personally, it's a little clunkier, okay? Because I'm too lazy to go back and redo this all. I got it set up the way I want. So I will, you know, go by, you know, the contract date. And then if I want to, once I see what I want, I go back to agent single line, and then I'll click on it to see the property. But if you leave that ML in there, you don't have to go back and forth. So do yourself a favor. Don't delete the ML when you go to delete your columns and stuff. I like to have assessed value in there. That's good for the buyers when you got the buyers going, but it's only assessed at, you know, 174, or it's only assessed for, you know, 158, and they're asking 300. You can remove addresses. So right here, you know, Caversham's a $300,000 house. I don't want this mucking up my things. You can click on any, you go to refine at the bottom, and you can discard it. Bye-bye, Stone Road. You're no longer there. This is why it's important. Go to actions, okay, guys? You hit all, okay? Watch how cool this is. This is all I do, you guys, and I blow clients away. I go stats, tabular. Do you guys see this screen? This shows all the summary stats. You can do this using presentations. You can do this in all of the different kind of presentations. I'm that type of person that goes in there and says, you know what, all the other agents, they're going to come in with their presentations. I'm just going to get down to the nitty gritty. I go over the marketing. I have a marketing package for them. Then I go over the marketing for Howard Hanna and how we set ourselves apart. But this stuff I like to do separately. So here it shows you the active, the sold, and the status of all. I usually look at the sold. You know, you can look at the average price per square foot, sold price. This is the list price to the sold price. It shows you that most properties are selling within the sold price per square foot. It gives you the minimum, the maximum. It gives you the average square footage. I will take this, I will mark it up. You can print this out. I leave this with the clients. They love looking at stuff like this. I might look at this and go, look, you know, its average is 141 a square foot. I will show them. I will actually take 141, multiply it by their square footage and show, well, look, here's where you should be. You're at 340. Well, let's take a closer look. We're going to peel back the layers of that onion, and we're going to see if that 340 makes sense, or if you're higher or you're lower. So that's one thing.
Hey, Renee,
Yes.
I just want to say, because you said you can print it out. So if you can print it out, you can also print it as a PDF. And if you can print
Yes.
it as a PDF and save it to your computer, you can incorporate it into a Howard Hanna presentation.
I will show you that right now. So what the other thing you do, you just printed out your stats, your summary stats, right? The next thing is you print agent grid, okay? There's all your things. You want to make sure you pick grid, print to PDF. Here it's generating. Ta-da! So here it is. You save it. You can save it. So on my computer, every single one of my properties, I have a folder for on my hard drive. So this one might be, this is a buyer, so this will be their last name. And then under it, I would save this as Caversham. So this is a little, I'm gonna put this up. That's the grid. That's what you're looking at on your screen, is you could just print this right out for them. And you're like, here you go. Here's the last 3 years of data for you. It blows them away. I guarantee you nobody else is doing this. There probably are. There's a handful of agents doing this out there, but I guarantee you you're going to set yourself apart from other agents by doing this. And I will take my highlighter and I'll highlight specific homes. You can see, you know, right here, sold price per square foot of each home. So you can say, well, you know what? Here's another one on Caversham. It's about the same size as your house. Here it is right here on Trotter's Field. But this is where becoming a neighborhood expert is so vital. You need to understand, okay, Trotter's Field may be completely different than Caversham. So that's where you need to understand by doing your research and driving around that, you know what? Look at all these houses. They, Trotter's Field was built in 1990. Maybe it's a little bit different than, there might be a new development in that neighborhood. You really need to understand that, because if you're going to go in there and start talking about Trotter's Field, you might lose your seller like this. If they go, has this agent done their homework? Because if they did, they would know that Trotter's Field is completely different than Caversham. I'm not saying Trotter's Field is. I'm just saying, just as an example. Or you're in a neighborhood, there's one in Penfield/Fairport over off Wayland Road, where Edenfield is, and Chippenham, I think, is over there. A lot of those homes are Ryan homes, okay? But there are a handful of homes over there that are not Ryan homes. And you want to know, if you're looking at a home that's not a Ryan home, obviously that is something you're going to talk about when you market the home. But if you're looking at a Ryan home and that seller goes, well, the guy across the street got, $380 for his house, you're going to go, well, yes, Mr. Seller, but that home was built by Woodstone. That was a custom build. That's not a Ryan home. That's going to carry a little bit of a different value than, say, your home or some of the other surrounding homes. So we really want to make sure that we're looking at the Ryan homes. That's what I mean when I say you got to dig into this data, and you'll be able to find some of that stuff out in Realist. So I'll talk about that too. But again, from this screen, you can see the PDF. You can print or you can save it right there. Screen comes up. Look at that. I got my Hannah. You can see all the different addresses. Okay, and then I save it in there, and then you call it whatever you want to call it. This one I would probably call Neighborhood 3 here. All sales Neighborhood 3 here. Okay, so there's that. Again, you would want to add in, if you're looking at a ranch. So what I would do, for example, here, if I'm looking to differentiate myself for this neighborhood, I'm going to be going to Caversham to do a listing presentation. I would show them this. I would do 3 here. I would do 1 here, and I would do 120 days and show them the different. And then if they had a ranch, I would go back and I would put the ranch criteria in there. I would keep the style of residence in there, so that way you can speak to it. Well, look, the ranches in this neighborhood, you can look at Bishop's Court. They sell for $175 a square foot. That's going to skew your data on your summary sheet. So if you got someone that has a colonial, You may want to make sure you're looking at just colonials so you can tease that data out. You're extrapolating that data and you're saying, we're just looking at colonials. So you would do that here and you can say, go back to the criteria and it is, I'm gonna have to move you guys for 2 seconds. You go down here. I really only want to look at a colonial. I really can't have, and look at 16. And then you go into here, you know, if you do this again, okay, all stats, tabular, okay. There it is. You can see, look, completely changed. It was 141 before, if I recall, the average, and now it's 142. So you might be able to go back to them and go, okay, so the style of house may not be as impactful as I thought it was. This is all great for you to know, because the more you can talk about a neighborhood and the stats and the details, the more they're going to go, man, this agent really did a lot of work to prepare for this. And it doesn't take long. I just did this in 10, 20 minutes. You will be able to do it in 20 minutes too. I promise you. I promise you, you will. And I'd be happy to sit down with anybody and do a smaller session if you'd like to, and I can do that for you. The other thing in the MLS, we have adding and removing columns. I taught you how to refine. I taught you how to print reports. Looking at trends. Okay, so for this one, you know, you might want to look at trends. We're here by contract date. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the colonial so that way I have more data points to look at. And I don't know if you guys saw as well, this new thing in the MLS, green means go, X means I don't want to look at them. So if you don't want to look at any, you know, I don't know, farmhouses or any, you know, colonials, you only want to look at ranches, you can say no to the colonials. So I took it out, or maybe you don't want to see, you only want to look at homes that are on a cul-de-sac in Fairport, all of Fairport, 14450. I only want to look at cul-de-sac homes and see how cul-de-sac homes compare across Fairport. Now you can talk about cul-de-sac homes and the value that they bring versus homes that are not on a cul-de-sac. Easy peasy. You do one cul-de-sac and then you do one without cul-de-sac and see if there's a difference in values. This is the kind of stuff that sets you apart. And again, I'd be happy to go over because I know there's a lot of content and there's a lot of powerful things you can do in the MLS. And I don't want you guys to get caught in the weeds. I want this to be kind of a little overarching and high level. So again, we have our 25 matches. I did over 3 years. Let's do over 10 years, which would be 365, 3650. There's 170. So for this, again, I go by contract date. I don't know why there's only, did I take my ranch out? What did I do? What did I do, guys? That there's only one in 2020.
You have the cul-de-sac checked?
Cul-de-sac out.
Okay.
Right?
170, it should show up.
Yeah, it should show up. This is really weird. Well, we're going to pretend that they're all there, okay? Because I know there's a lot more in 2020. So what I would do, like I told you before, is I would look through it. You know, you go 2018, you got 375, 375. It's kind of all over the place, you know? You might want to take Stonebridge Lane out. You know, you're not looking at a $700,000 house, but ironically, it still sells at 141 a square foot. So this neighborhood really is around square footage there. You want to look at the different trends. You want to look, are prices going up over time? Are they stagnant over time? How many houses are selling in a year? Kind of gives you an idea of the trends of that neighborhood. You want to look at it by vintage, of course being the year built. You can look at it by style of residence. You can look at it by a number of different factors. So before we leave the MLS, because this is the biggest piece, are there any questions about the MLS or anything that I did, anything you want me to show you again? Okay, one thing I will show you is one thing you can do here when you click on this, like original list price. Ugh, I hate that it says that. I go original price, okay, apply. and look at that. It's already there. You can center the data if you want. So everything is centered there. You can make them bigger, smaller. You can, what I do is if you zoom in and then adjust these, like if you go here, you go like this, click here, and you can do wrap line. It wraps it so it can be bigger because some of this stuff is like teensy weensy. This kind of stuff especially is great. You know, people love to look at data. They're curious. They want to know. This here, what I just showed you, between the summary chart and printing the detail out, this alone has set me apart from other agents more times than I can count. And I showed you a couple examples of that. So that was that, you know, assessed value. You can do that. Again, you click. That is the trick, is clicking in the gray area. Click in the gray area. When you see that, when you do that, when you see the finger, all that does is that's going to rank order it for you, okay? But when you click in the gray area, you can rename it anything you want. And then remember, saving it is over here. Save here. You can make one. See, it says your defaults have been set. You can do, at one point I had one for listing stats. I had a grid, and then you can make as many as you want. So we're going to leave the MLS, but we're going to go into Realist now, because I'm going to show you a couple cool things in Realist that I'm not sure you guys know how to do. So when you're preparing for a listing, I do this as well. So remember, you're in here. Here's our Caversham, right? We got our Caversham. You want it, you're not quite sure what the street names are, go into the map. Okay, and zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Oh, that's a little too much zooming. Okay, but you got Farm Field, you got Fields Gate. Okay, over here, you can look at, if you want to look at a specific comp to yours, you can go in and do the satellite view, and you can go, well, okay, well, of course this guy, you know, well, so-and-so got 300,000. Well, so-and-so's got backing up to Forever Wild. You know, that's a value. So these are the kinds of things that, you know, you want to prepare yourself for these questions. So we're in Realist, right? First things first, I do Caversham. Right there, search. Pulls up all my Cavershams. Of course, come on. Of course, Realist isn't going to want to play with me today. Trotters. Okay. Proceed. You want to see the addresses. You have all of these. You're going to go here. Okay. Now it shows all of the different reports. Okay, this is what you want to look at. So I'm going to teach you guys a little something, a little trick I learned. You can also, recording date, go by there. Anybody with a little flag and a little camera, that means it was in the MLS. Anything you see that says 2020, and you see the MLS, see it says here, you can plug in all of the different street names in a particular neighborhood. If you don't see the flaggy flag in the MLS, look at this, people right here, 2010 doesn't matter. Okay, this was 10 years ago, not anything I'm concerned about. But you see one, if you pretend this 26 Trotters Field, you pretend that was 2020, guess what? You just found a for sale by owner. You just found a private sale. You go into that seller's house and they go, well, you know, Bob down the street, he sold this house for 400,000. Did you see that one? You know, I actually did. That was a private sale. You know, you can go look on Zillow, see if Bob posted pictures on Zillow of his home. You want to go in there. You don't want to be the person that goes, oh God, no, that I didn't see that in the MLS. Now all of a sudden you just brought yourself down a level. But if you go in there and go, I absolutely did see Bob's listing, and that was a private sale. So that's a little bit harder for us to use as a comp. We can definitely use the value. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the pictures. I don't know what updates Bob has done. Have you been in Bob's house? Can you tell me? Did Bob put a new roof on? Did Bob do this? Did Bob do that? You know, put it back on them. They're gonna be blown away. Oh my God, they knew it was a for sale by owner. So you can go through and you can see those in here. You can put in, this is another one where you can add fields, okay? You add fields over here. Let me find it. I haven't done this one in a while. Labels, export, you can export it. I don't usually bring these and show those because I don't think that I want to show a seller what somebody else's assessed value is and all that kind of information. My search is here and it's the advanced search. So you can go in township, you can put in zip code, school district, foreclosure stage. And where is it now? I think this changed. There was, and I apologize, you guys, because there was a spot down here where you can add a field. And I think that Real has changed it. Customized table. Oh, they moved it up here. Show only selected rows. And I apologize, guys, because there it used to be over here. There would be a little thingy that you would go down and you would be able to add a field. And I used to do it all the time. Because my search. Oh, where is it? Customized search. Okay, so now it's here. You have to, I haven't played with this in a while, guys, so I apologize. You would pick what you want here. So maybe you want to look at assessed value. Sometimes I'll do that to look at assessed value of homes in that neighborhood. But basically, I'm using this primarily to look for private sales because I want to know who has sold their house on the private market. Do you know that back in the day, before this frenzy, only 1 to 2%, 1 to 4% was for sale by owner? Since the advent of our friends at Zillow in Trulia, and of course, this being a crazy seller's market and people not realizing the value we bring to the table, for sale by owners now represent 10% of the marketplace. Don't forget about these guys because they're important too, and you want to include them in your comps if you can.
Renee, Melissa's asking, cameras are within 5 years? Is that what you said in the MLS?
The cameras are there. I'm not sure. It might mean sometimes the labels are off a little bit. Red means it's sold, green means it's active, and I think yellow and orange mean they're pending or under contract. But if there's a camera or one of these little teardrops, that usually means, and if you click on it, it brings you right to the listing. So you want to click on it and you go, oh, I want to look at this. You click on it, it brings you right to the listing. But if there's no teardrop, you will see it's a for sale by owner. I always double check, you guys, always double check because Realist is not perfect. And you want to make sure that you know, I have found a few that you think are for sale by owner and then you plug it into MLS and you might have an older sale in there too. So if you like 7 Trotters Field, I would go back and go, all right, let's go home. Let me do 7 Trotters. Trotters. Okay, 7 Trotters has never, at least in the last 10 years, has not been listed in the MLS. So you could do that. You check on it and see, you know, if any of these for sale by owners have ever been purchased in the MLS, you might be able to see old pictures. You might be able to see layout, and that will help you, you know, kind of compare it to your home. It might be a 5 or 6 year old listing, but at least you can see layout. You can see if they have finished basements. You can see what their backyards look like, and that can help you get some of that additional info if you see something that's been for sale by owner. And I would check Zillow, and I would check for old listings. Does that answer your question, Melissa? Hopefully.
And that 7 Trotters Field, by the way, was from 2007, so it wouldn't be in the MLS.
Not going to be in there. So, but let's check 26 Trotters. That was 2010. Let's see 26. No, he's not in there either. I wish we had a for sale by owner guy in here so we could I can't believe Caversham doesn't come up. That's what I mean about this real list. Sometimes it plays nice, sometimes it doesn't. It's unbelievable. There's a million houses on Caversham, and they're telling me there's not. Does anybody know any streets that has some for sale by owners recently that I can put in here? I should have done my homework, guys. See, here's Del. There's my street. Delkeith, Delkeith, Delkeith. Here's one. Sam Herrick, 2014, 162 Delkeith. Okay, so 162 Delkeith appears to have been a for sale by owner. Let's go in here. Okay, so I know Sam and 162 Delkeith, not in there. Boom. So before Sam bought it on for sale, before Sam bought it on the private market, it was not listed in the MLS within the last 10 years. So you come up with nothing there. And probably in 2014, it was not in Zillow. So you wouldn't be using him as a comp anyway, because it's 6 years old. You got to play around. The big story with Realist and MLS is play around with it, you guys. Play around with the data. You want to play around with, you know, the things you were using. I'm trying to go back to my, you know.
Lisa's asking also if the 10% of FSBO also includes the ones who are buying an MLS number. So they're working with a FSBO company that puts them in the MLS. You know, they have those exclusive rights.
Those will actually be in the MLS if they're working with, like, you know, the New to You, I think, is one of them that goes out there. And I can't remember the other one that used to do it. I think she retired.
Yeah, they're considered represented.
Absolutely. And you know, who's the other guy? Robert Blaine, I think, is one of them. Not Bobby Blaine, but Robert Blaine is one of those flat rate guys where you see it and they're like, call the owner to do everything. And his listings will appear in there. So you will see them in there as well. But, you know, the big thing is play with this stuff down here. You will be amazed at what you can find out. The other thing I do, a little trick, I did this with Caversham that I'm doing. Caversham here. Okay, another thing I did this last night because my buyers really like the house. I click on showing time. It's my little friend. I don't know how many people know you can do this. I go in and I pretend I'm going to schedule a single showing. So I know how many times it's being shown. I go in there and I go, listen, they got 6 showings today. They got 8 showings tomorrow. I don't have to ask the realtor. Back in the day, you would call them and you'd be like, how many showings do you have? How's the activity been on your listing? And they're like, oh, it's nonstop showings all day, all weekend. Okay, now I just go look myself. And I can tell them, listen, there's nonstop showings at this house. All the blackouts are showings. So I can go there and I can tell them, listen, this house is being shown pretty regularly today or tomorrow. Or you go in and you go, listen, we're the only people who've seen this house in 6 days. You know, maybe that gives us a little bit of an edge when we write the offer. So I always kind of look at that too. I look at everything I can. So enough with the matrix in the Real Scout. I could talk all day about those two. The next thing I want to show you is market stats. So you're in the GRAR member portal. Some people use these, some people don't. Right here, okay, everybody can see my screen, Maggie? Can we see it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Market stats right under here. Great little tool, okay? This is powered by GRAR. So in this one, you can literally do whatever you want. You can do a custom, you can put in a custom date range here. You can change your labels for whatever you want. I'm not gonna do that right now because I know we only have about an hour left. So I don't wanna get too caught in the weeds there. But you have here, this is the entire Rochester region. You can say, click on this little caret here. You wanna go by zip code. Let's use Fairport, okay? So now we're looking at Fairport, okay? Crunching the numbers. So you're like, what are these price ranges? They're goofy. And there's some of them, I personally, like this one they're kind of weird. You can customize those again. Custom, and again, you might do 100. 0 to 150, you do 150. Oddly, it's not letting me do the 999, so 151. Oh, that's why. 151 to 250. Oops, 250. So on and so forth. So you do that, okay? And then over here,
You said cancel instead of done, so it didn't grab it.
yeah. I don't like this price range they did. Let's change them because they're weird, right? 149, 150 to 249, 250 to 349, and then we'll do 350 and more. Done. Okay, so now what you see here is from 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, you have this nice little graph based on sales price median. So for this price range, you can look at average sales price, you can look at new listings, you can look at homes for sale, pending sales, all these days on market. You can print these up, you can look at previously owned. So you want to say, you know, you can tailor this any way you want. You can look at just square footage. You want to look at single family, okay? All these different things. Over here, don't get too caught up. Again, you just want to look at the trends. You can do line graphs. You can do, bar graphs, okay? You can do 3 years. You can do 1 year. You can do, usually 3 years is a little bit more impactful. You can go 12 months, you can do monthly data, rolling 3 months, rolling 6 months, rolling 12. So here's your monthly data by line graph. I keep hitting the wrong one. Okay, so you can see, there's your data points. So it's kind of some nifty stuff. If you're looking to do something a little bit different to demonstrate, again, this is days on market, you know, you can use this to differentiate yourself. Again, play around with this. This is another thing that, you know, people aren't using. You can do it, again, by school district. You can do that. You can add another area here, and maybe you're like, well, you know what? There's that area of Penfield that's kind of in Fairport as well, and maybe I want to look at that. They will overlay it. So look, you have the orange is 14625. 14450, then maybe you're like, you know what? Now I want to add Pittsford. You know, I want to look at Pittsford too. Okay. Now we got 3 towns. So you can do this with all of the different things. You can customize pretty much anything. Okay. And I believe somewhere in here, you might be able to add style of homes. I haven't found it yet. I like you guys, I'm learning all the time too.
All construction. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
No,
I
that's
saw
just
all
pre-owned. Yeah.
construction. Yeah.
So another great tool. I don't use this one as often, but I wanted to show it to you guys in case you wanted to add it to your repertoire. I don't use it.
So
right.
you might want to just point out that user manual and frequently asked questions at the top. So if you decide to use it, there's some more information there on how to use it.
I mean, this is an opportunity for one of you guys to become the expert in InfoSparks, and then you can teach a class on InfoSparks. I just wanted to kind of give you the overarching, like, this is the InfoSparks. It's powered by GRAR, and it's kind of got some nifty graphs and things that you can show some of your sellers. Next thing I'm going to show you is Real Scout. Okay, you guys, I got to tell you, I was not a Real Scout user. I was like, MLS, MLS, MLS. And now I love Real Scout. I like can't get enough of Real Scout. I use it for almost all of my buyers, okay? And there are, with any tool, of course, there's things that you wish they had. I do find myself going back to the MLS when I need to comp stuff out. And that, for me, is because MLS is my comfort zone. So I know, you saw my grid. I can get done in the MLS what I need to get done in 20 minutes. So I haven't really gotten dug into how to do the stats in Real Scout. But So you go to your dashboard. Okay, just wanted to show you a few things. Real Scout is amazing. You can see your clients in here will show you what they're interested in, okay, what they're not interested in, messages. Now, what you guys need to know, why I like this better than Matrix is, you can't send personal messages on Matrix, but you can on this one. So let's see, here's my clients, okay? So what I've done because as you know, anything that you have in your Engage or your Open to Close automatically feeds into Real Scout, okay? When I'm working with somebody in an active manner, okay, Eileen, I'm not really working with you actively. She needs to get qualified. Jackie and Kevin just bought a house, so I'm going to unstar them. So these people, you star the people. I star the people I'm actively working with. Then up here, show only starred clients. Okay, so here's this, Kyle and Nadine. So these guys are coming in from Albany today. We're going to be looking at their homes. You get their client profile, their recent activity, client details. So how about yesterday, I fell into a house that doesn't match their criteria, but I said, you know what? They may actually like this house. And I put it in, and it was Harwood. It was on Harwood in Penfield, Harwood Circle, Penfield, New York. Here it is, okay? I'm like, I think they might like this house. It matches their criteria, but they didn't want anything older than 1980. So I'm like, you know what, though? This is a special house. You go down here, you pick your client, and then, hey guys, stumbled onto this one, and then you hit send listing, and they get it automatically. But as you guys know, Real Scout uses artificial intelligence to figure out what your clients like and what they don't like. Literally had an agent last week sitting with me, and I showed them, and they go, did you write that message? I go, no. I'm like, Real Scout wrote it. Once they learn what they like, they send them they send them the listings, and Real Scout writes a little blurb about it in the email that says, this house features a finished basement and a sunroom because they've figured out that my buyer wants a finished basement and a sunroom. So this agent was like, wow, I can't believe that Real Scout does this. You go into messages.
So Real Scout has a 15 times higher open rate because of this. So this is keyed to the preferences. Preferences don't exclude a property, but they look in the public comments, they look in the MLS things that are checked, and they look in the actual photographs. So if you or the client has said, I like this, and if you instruct them, when you see a house you like, say, I like it, and it'll ask them some questions like, did you like the kitchen? And it'll ask them for some specifics. So Renee might say, I'm looking for an open floor plan with stainless steel appliances and granite countertops. But Laura might say, I need a finished basement with a walkout. So their messages on the same house will say, Laura, did you see this house with a walkout basement and finished walkout? And Renee, did you see this house with an open floor plan with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances? Same house. They're both going to open it because it's keying on features they like. So it's huge. It's just
right. And it just lends itself to supporting you being this neighborhood expert or this real estate expert. Like, wow, she's really keyed into what I want. And really, Real Scout's doing all that work for you. The messages, I've actually grown to love this, Maggie, because I have every conversation that these people have said about every property. Carly was a big user of this was Carly. Every single one's, that place looked like shit. I mean, by their comments sometimes. But you know what? When somebody comments to you, I don't got to go searching through my text messages. I don't got to go searching through my emails. I go right on my phone to my Real Scout on my phone, pull it up, and I'm able to look at all the conversations that I've had with this client. It allows me to so quickly, not all of them use it. So you got to kind of, This one loves it. She writes me giant paragraphs, you know, and she's lovely. Just keeps going on and on about, we have these whole conversations, and it's all here, right in here, every single property. I don't have to go searching through my emails or my text messages. I love it, you guys. I absolutely love it. And then on the dashboard too, the other thing that's cool on this one is, I'm trying to find somebody. All these people 7 minutes ago, Eileen, she's just, this girl's not even qualified yet, this one, and she is in here all the time. Kyle and Nadine, not interested in Bishop's Court. Kyle and Nadine opened this email 5 times. They looked onto this. See, stumbled onto this beauty. That was the one I sent you on Harwood. They opened that 5 times. 5 times they looked at that. So now they reached out to me, and she was like, I don't like it, so I nixed it. Kyle loved it. So it was probably Kyle opening it 5 times, really looking at this house. But if they're a client that maybe isn't as communicative with you as you would like, you could look at this and go, huh, they looked at that 5 times. Maybe we need to go look at it. And you can go back to them and say, you know what, I noticed, you know, you kind of might want to tailor your conversation. Look at, they got the little thumbs down. You know, you can go to them and say, you know what, I really thought that Harwood was so nice. You know, do you think we should go look at it when you come into town on Saturday? They might go, you know, God, I thought it was too. It really did hit all of our check boxes. Yeah, we do want to see it. And they don't know that you know that they opened it 5 times. So it really kind of, you know, puts you right into what they're in their heads without them knowing. But I do tell my clients that, you know, look at, they opened this one 7 times. We're going to look at this one too today. Opened it 7 times. So they're really serious about buying a house.
So it just depends on your personality. I say to my
Yeah.
clients, I see you open this 7 times. I want them to know that I'm following what
Right.
they're looking at. So I've already set up the conversation. This is through me. I'm going to be able to see when you open things.
Yep.
Man, if they open it 3 times, I'm making a call.
Right.
Because the first one's them, the second one's the spouse. If they open it again, there's some interest. So I'm calling them, what about this house interests you? It just shows your involvement, in my opinion.
13 times. They've told me Caversham's their lead horse. They've looked at Caversham 13 times. This is why I did all my comp work on Caversham before we go look at it. I need to be able to talk about this intelligently with them at the house. So again, why I look at Caversham, you know, if the agent didn't disclose why 2 deals have died, I'd be calling them and asking. I might call an agent who does a lot of work in Pittsford and say, you know, Debbie Jacob, what do you think of Caversham? What do you think of that neighborhood? These people will talk to you. You call them. If it's somewhere in Fairport, I'll call Kathy Keogh. Kathy Keogh, talk to me about Hurlbut in Hulbert in the Village. Talk to me about this street. What do you know? What has your experience been? She may talk to me, she may not. If she doesn't talk to me, hang up and call the next agent who's done a lot of business on Caversham and say, why do you think that this house isn't selling in this market? And you know, you have those conversations. Market alerts, you know, you can use this, you can select a market here, 450. And you know, you can set up market alerts there so you can see things that get listed in Fairport, so you can set up market alerts for yourself. There's listing tools, Market 360, tons of tools that you guys should be looking in here. Office listings, and then listing, this is more on your listings that you would look at, but the market alerts you can use to set up. So Real Scout, again, super powerful. I love to use it. I find that for clients, the user interface is a little bit better. It acts a little bit more like Zillow, where they can see the pictures a little bit better. It renders a little bit better on their screens than some of the matrix stuff. And again, star the people you're using, only show starred clients. You can see how many homes they've viewed. Homes viewed 115, emails opened 140. This will show too, you guys, anybody you sign up in through open to close automatically gets pumped into here, and they get stuff sent to them. You can see automatically who's looking at stuff. I'm trying to find someone myself. Mary Chevalier is one of them. Okay. And here she is. Last time she pumped in was a year ago. Okay. Well, you know what? You might find somebody 2 months ago, Patty Beatty Reese. That was a lead from one of my, where I told you about the people who gave me over 2 million worth of business. She's one of them that they referred to me. Trying to find someone that's actually been using this. Not many have. Okay. So, but they're all in here. Now you got to remember, I don't do my own open houses. I give them all away. So that's why my Real Scout only has 34 clients in it, because it's all the people who do my open houses for me that have this. So this is all old stuff. I just add new people in there. Any questions about Real Scout that I can answer for anybody, or anybody want to add something to the conversation that might be useful for other people to know? All right. Next one is buy side. God, you guys, I got to tell you, buy side is my favorite tool in the world. Okay. So buy side agent dashboard. So first thing you guys should be doing on buy side is figuring out where your buy side, your own personal IDX is. I have, I'll show you right now. I can get out of my Real Scout. Mine is right here. Look at that. It's the second one up there. There's my buy side. Before I go on any listing appointment, the day before, 2 days before, I copy my buy side URL. I paste it into an email or a text message. I send it to that seller. I said, here's your homework assignment. Before our listing appointment, you need to go in and claim your address. Does two things. Once they claim their address, you get to see if they've added it. So switch to agent view. Okay, so here's all my people. Okay, L&D, look at that. They claimed their address. I ran a contest a couple years ago. A couple weeks ago, I put my buy side link on Facebook, and I said, I'm running a contest because it was home valuation week. I said, go in and claim your address. Anybody who does will be in a contest to win a $25 Wegmans gift card. I got people in here. I don't know who these people are. Narita Gaitan. Okay, she claimed her address. This is opportunities for you to go and farm that neighborhood. Send them a postcard, send them a card, reach out to them. All these people have gone in and claimed their address just off of my Facebook or finding it on my webpage. Okay, so you're in here, you're in your buy side. Okay, there's your dashboard. I use this to show my sellers what the buy side is. So there's the dashboard marketing suite. Okay, marketing suite, home valuation site. You go in here, market your valuations page. This is where you preview your site, where I just was over here. This is your site, homevalue.howardhanna.com/Laura Heath. Melissa Parker, or whatever your name is according to Howard Hanna. So you know, for Kathy, it might not be Kathy Keogh, it might be Catherine. So you want to make sure that you can get it here just by clicking on the preview site. You can click here and it gives you instructions on how to add it to your email signature. So every single email you send will have this at the end. They can click on it and you can see you are notified. You can go into your dashboard and see who's claiming their site, claiming their address. Then engage with them. Are you thinking of selling your house? And then for those of you who have clients who are maybe not adept at the internet as others, there is a way to do this in PDF. Let's see where it was. Marketing Suite Home Valuation. I found it. Share on social media. You can do that right there. Archive Valuation, BMA. Buyer's market analysis, you can do that here. You enter an address and it will create a PDF for you, okay? Home valuation site, you can do preview my site. We'll do 15 Caversham. I will tell you guys right now, once your listing is active, your buy side link does not work. If somebody tries to use buy side on an active listing, this is great for you guys. For buyers, if you try to go in there, it will go to your IDX webpage and show the listing if it's active, okay? And it is working on its report right now.
I don't think it shows the Pittsford property, so I'm not sure.
Oh, because it's listed. That's why it's trying to think. Because
Yeah, so, and you had 3 from different areas, so.
all right, 140, I'll do my own house. We'll do my own house, okay? Thank you, Maggie. I'm wondering, I'm like, why is it spinning? Okay, results include buyer breakdown, value estimates. It's still thinking, Mags. Let me try it on my site. Because I have 8,000 of them open. Waiting for the buy side app. It's never usually this slow. It's usually super fast.
You're not clicking in the gray bar. So click over, hit the enter.
This bar?
Hit enter. Now, so search. It's got to come up.
At the bottom.
So you're not clicking in where it's got the Rochester with the zip code. So type that in again. Just hit enter there, or see, go back a little bit. Just take the word road out for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, or go ahead and start again. And just slow down a hair. Yep.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
So
hit search.
I know.
There. It was there a second ago. To put the road in. There.
Thank you, Maggie. Put the road in and then you click on it.
So when you get the zip code, you know that you've actually selected it.
Thanks, Mags.
Yep.
I knew I was missing something. But it still says waiting for homevalue.howardhanna.com. So, which is annoying me because this is such a cool feature, you guys. It is the best tool we have by far is buy side. I think it's the internet because it's still thinking. But from here, so I apologize for that, guys. You can go ahead and do a PDF on here if you have a client who's maybe elderly. And, for me, I give them their homework assignment, but then you can bring this as a PDF and show it to them. It's still thinking.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Because you're popping in everything else okay.
Yeah, everything else is working fine. It's just this. My leads will show you all the people who came in. Okay, so you can see everybody and you might go, oh my God, that's my cousin. Maybe I need to call him and find out if he's listing. This is listed. And they can set up the valuation. You can archive it, create a BMA off of it, assign to agent. You get their address. You don't usually get their email address. He put it in. It's not required. So you might have to do a little bit of digging to find that. And did it work? Gateway timeout.
Oh, that's weird.
Let's try a different address. Golden, we'll do my parents. Golden Locust Circle.
There, you got to get you didn't click on it. So.
And I spelled it.
There, just click on the one below. There you go.
Golden Locust Circle. Okay, and then it should come up. There it is.
There
Penfield,
you go.
enter.
And now do your search. Yeah,
I
there
think
you
it's
go.
just everyone's using buy side right now. It's crashing. It's never this slow, you guys. I'm so sorry. But definitely play around with it. I think it's just being temperamental right now. Um, and then neighborhood news is the other one I wanted to let you guys know about. That's in Engage. That's where you can set up the neighborhood news. You know, everyone, we get those quantum digital cards that are sent out to the 24 people for free. That's something you can leverage there. If this is a neighborhood you want to farm, I would suggest leveraging those free postcards you get. Maybe you send another postcard with, you call marketing, have them make a QR code out of your own personal buy side page, and you have them put that on a card for follow-up and say, you know, why don't you check out what your, yeah, it's timing out. Check out what your home is worth, and then you can see which of the neighbors are engaging because they click on that QR code and then they go and they check out what their home is worth. So buy side neighborhood news. And that's, I mean, this pretty much wraps up kind of the different things I do to establish myself as a neighborhood expert with my different clients, as well as differentiate myself from the competition. And most, like I said, most of what I do is in the matrix. But I use the tools that are available to me to be able to augment what I'm doing and kind of show them the power of Howard Hanna and the tools and the resources that we have that can help them. And you can see my saved searches here. I have so many of them. You know, I will do searches that are easy. You see some of them are people's names, but you know, North Whitten Village, multifamily homes, Gates, you know, Grease Rental. I just had to do that for somebody. Grease Ranch. I have one all set just for Grease Ranch. You know, so if I have someone with a ranch in Greece, at the click of a button, I'm able to pick it up. And then I could go into the criteria and modify this, you know, this one was 90 days because for this one, we had, we were trying to figure out if a house was going to appraise. You know, there's all these people going over asking price and going crazy. We were like, well, we know what the appraisers look at last 90 days within half a mile. So, you know, I have this ready to go so I can look at all the ranches in a particular neighborhood or a particular market and see what it looks like.
We have a couple questions about the MLS. So there's, can you show, can you do leading up to the map polygon, and then how to name like Renee's grid? How did you name it your own name?
Sure. Okay. Fantastic. That's a great question because I did not do that. So single family, again, you can do multifamily, you know, all these are there. So we're going to do single family. Okay. So let's say, all right, I'm trying to think of a listing I have coming up in a week. You guys are going to get a little, this is revealing it to the public. So I can tell you guys, I have a listing coming up in a week on Beach Ave. Okay. So there's Beach Ave. And over here, okay, I'm going to do, so I put in Beach Ave. I go map search. I want to see the map though. I don't want to look at the thing. Okay. So there's my Beach Ave right there. And I will do the polygon. Well, first, I have to move you guys so I can, I'm gonna go in here. Beach Ave probably wasn't the best one to use, guys, because we're gonna go back. Sorry, we're gonna back up. We're not gonna use Beach Ave. I do have a listing coming up on Beach Ave though. It will be listing around 240 or 250 if anyone looking for a water view. Let's do Caversham again, just because it was easy, right? Okay. So there's Caversham. Okay, so you got 5 matches on Caversham. You know, you might need to play around with here if you're not showing, if it's not showing it. Or here's another one. Okay, Whitten. Okay, well, Whitten crosses into Irondequoit, the city, Henrietta, and Brighton. So you're like Whitten, you got your map search and you're like, oh, that's crazy. You know, to modify that down, you go, well, you know, I'm actually the Brighton area of Winton. Okay, so that brings that down for you. Okay, so that's not Winton. Winton's a main road, so we're not going to do that. We're going back to the Caversham. Okay, so there's Caversham. There you have it. Okay, I'm going to reduce it a little bit. So Caversham, there's only one Caversham and it's in Pittsford. You want to, you know, you can do as little or as much of the neighborhood as you need. So in some areas, I might find myself crossing over Calkins to this side. I might cross over Mendon Center Road. I might cross over this side. You guys, that's the beauty of this, is you can look at it in different ways. You go there, there.
So this is where it's really important to drive around the neighborhoods to find out, is the stuff across the street 20 years older? Or are they new builds? Or are they twice the size? So driving those neighborhoods, like I used to live on Shagbark Way in Fairport. So I know Shagbark and Ben Oak. But if I go across the street of Mason, Mason Valley was built 10, 15 years later. And if I go behind, those houses were twice as big. So I wouldn't include those. So I would use this map to just get those two streets.
Correct. So you can do that, and you can exclude. So say you're in here and you're like, oh my gosh, like nothing is getting sold in this neighborhood. Or you say, you know what, it's I want to include this. You can drag this up like this. You can drag this up like this. And then you can say, you know what, except for this little boopy part right here. So you do this, maybe you go, oh, but this little section right here, these are those new builds that they just put up last year. I don't really want to deal with that. Exclude this shape. So it's going to include everything but that little neighborhood right there. Does that make sense, hopefully? Okay, so now we're going to go to, we got our results. Okay, it's going to include every, oh, nope, I forgot. What I forgot? Can anybody tell me what I forgot to do? Anybody? I forgot to
remove Caversham.
Forgot to delete Caversham. So remove Caversham. 48 houses sold in that neighborhood in the last year. So you're there. So I'm going to show you from agent single line. This is what we see. Okay. So we're going to do days on market and look at it. It saved it because I hit that widget. So now my agent single line is going to show these, even though that might not be there. So no, you want to look at, I know sold price per square foot's a big one. Sold price per acreage. The worst part about this is going through this damn list and trying to figure out, you know what else I use this for? Oh, I'll show you what I do. List agent. So if I know I have to call an agent to find out how activity was, look at this. Boom. Oh my God. So now I have the agents right there. I don't have to look up each listing. Then I print this out. You can do list agent full name, and then you can do, I've done this, I can't even tell you how many times. List agent phone number. It's only their office phone. Their mobiles aren't in here. I have a lot of them saved into my phone, but you can put that in there, okay? And then you can do it by, look at that. So now you can go, well, look, Debbie Jacobs has had 3 listings in this neighborhood. Geetha VJ, it has 3. Holly Creek's had 3. You know, you can look through this and you can see kind of who's the listing agents. Do we have a listing agent that pops out in this neighborhood that you know, that you've worked with before, that you're comfortable calling? You can put the buyer's agent in here as well, although I don't know what a buyer agent's gonna be able to tell you. But the listing agent, you know, they're in here, so you can look. I see Nunzio Salafia. Okay, is buttermilk a flip? That might be important for me to know before I go into, we all know Nunzio loves his flips. I'm gonna wanna know if 15 buttermilk was a flip before I go into this neighborhood and talk about it, because that's important to me and how I set myself apart. Kathy Keogh, she's done some work on Founders Green. Oh my gosh, let me call Kathy. She's in my branch. I can give her a call and say, Kathy, you know, talk to me a little bit about Founders Green. And, you know, she hopefully will give me some insight that's going to help me get the listing. Most people are willing to help you, is what I found. So here we are. You've added the two things. What you do, okay, is now you want to save it. You click on the little pen and pencil in the paper here. You click and you call it, I'm going to call this training grid. Save. Training grid. Now when I go in here, there it is. There's Renee's grid. There's my training grid. Okay, now I'm in my training grid. Oh, you know what? I don't need the office phones. That's annoying. I want their mobile phones. I don't even want to look at that. So I take that out. I don't need acreage. I don't need to look at that. I take that out. And then you hit the widget, set current display. Okay, now go back to Renee's grid, go back to the training grid, and look at that. Judy, all the list agent's name, but I've removed, it excludes the acreage. So what you can do is you can create one grid that you work from, like this, and like this is your default grid. I don't even look at the standard grids anymore. I look at this 100% of the time. And then if I need, you know, if I want to put the vintage in there, I can put the vintage. I mean, this neighborhood especially, I mean, you got some homes built in 2005, you got some homes built in 1981. You're going to need to extrapolate that. You got to know this when you go in there to talk to your client. And then if I want to, that's what I ended up doing with the listing is I ended up putting additional things in there. So that way, and then I saved it under listing. So that way I always had my default ready to go. And then I modified my default and then saved a new one, like Renee's listing grid. Sometimes the town, I do find with the listing, you know, you guys know you can be in Greece, but Gates School District's one I often will put in here. Okay. You got Greece with Gates School District, or you have the big one, Pittsford with Henrietta Schools. Okay, that's a big deal. Okay, if someone wants Pittsford Schools, especially that one neighborhood, I think is it Sherwood, over
Yeah.
like half of the neighborhood. If you're on one side of the street, you're in East Rochester. If you're on the other side of the neighborhood, you're Pittsford Schools. Well, that's kind of important to know.
Craig Road is like that. It's Pittsford Fairport.
Right. So
half and half.
Obviously, this is going to be all Pittsford, but you know, if you know you're going to be in, you know, some of those areas where the zoning kind of it changes, you know, you'll put the school district in there. So that way, you know, when you're talking to a seller or a buyer, you know, you're able to say, well, you know, yeah, this is Pittsford, but it's actually Henrietta Schools, or this is Greece, but it's Gates Schools. So we're not looking at, you know, the same kind of comps. We got to look at it through a different lens to really understand, you know, what we're looking at.
And if you don't know what the school district is, guess what? Pick up the phone, call the school district directly and say, would this address be in your district?
Exactly. And I'll tell you one thing. That's another reason to call the towns. These townspeople are so helpful. I called once to a town and I said, I got a buyer. I said, I got to tell you, they have to be in Indian Landing schools. And by the way, in Real Scout, you can drill down to the school name. This was not available back then. So now you can actually go into Real Scout and say, it needs to be Barker Road Middle School that I want to go to. It needs to be Martha Brown. And you can tailor that specifically by that school district. I called the town and I was like, I got someone that needs to be in Indian Landing. She says to me, oh, do you want me to send you the spreadsheet of all the addresses that belong to that school district? I'm like, yeah. And then I used that list, that Excel spreadsheet, and I created a map thing that used those boundaries. And I was able to basically encapsulate the Indian Landing School District for that client, which was huge. I didn't have to start going through every single listing to find out, because we all know most agents don't drill down. They just say Pittsford schools or Penfield schools or Greece schools. They don't drill down to the exact school. So that's an important thing too. What other?
And we have many towns that have 5 school districts in the town, many. So you have to be careful that you put them in the right district. Same thing with municipal electric, so Spencerport, Fairport. Don't say if you're in Barrington, you're gonna get on Fairport Electric. Maybe not. And on half of one street, maybe yes, the other half, maybe no. So you have to have asked those questions. Don't assume if they're in Barrington, they're on Fairport Electric. They are not all on Fairport Electric.
Correct. Crystal Springs actually is not Fairport Electric. One of the
Right.
most popular neighborhoods in Fairport is not Fairport Electric. So yeah, that's a great point. What other questions do we have on the matrix or any other?
I think we're good unless people have things they want to, raise their hand about or unmute themselves and ask. Because we're 10 minutes to closing time, so we got a couple minutes here to answer those questions. Anybody got any questions?
We have a full, I want to point out, guys, that this whole, oh no, Rick, I was going to say we have a whole group of women today, and we have our token male. Rick is here. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Again, I mean, if anybody needs any help, especially with setting up these grids or anything like that, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. You can see here in my grid, I've changed all of the listing, sold price, SP to LP, I've changed the labels on it more for the benefit of my clients. So when I give them the printed grids, they understand what I'm looking at and they understand what everything means. So that's it, you guys. This is kind of culminates the end of this Weekend Warrior. I hope that this was beneficial. I hope you guys learned one thing, two things, three things. This has been something that I've been doing since the beginning. I'm a stats girl, and I'll tell you, I blow people away with this. You will be able to get this done in half an hour. You'll be able to do some quick comps and look at things, and I promise you, you will set yourself apart, and it will help you. I promise you. And I'm here.
It won't help you though if you don't apply it. So my recommendation is if you have a few minutes today, spend a few minutes setting up a grid today, because by Monday, half of what you learned is already gone.
Especially,
So
yes, it's
Kathy's
fresh.
smiling over there.
It's fresh in your mind. It is fresh in your mind. Try working on it right now. Get
right now.
up
Yeah.
your MLS, set up your grid, and try to figure it out. You have a listing coming up. You have a buyer you're working with. Try setting up your grid and try to do comps for one of your buyers. Try to do comps for one of your sellers. You're gonna.
And if you don't have that, just do your own house or your family's house, some house that you know really well. Just, if you don't have a buyer because you're brand new, fine, do your own property or a property you know really well.
Before we go, I'm going to try this one more time, just to see if it comes up, just to see before we go if BuySide's going to want to play with us.
And the benefit in all the Howard Hanna tools is how well they work together. So when you start using one tool and you get good at it, then just keep adding tools, because these tools talk to each other, and the power is in their ability. Lots of companies have one or more of these tools, but they don't have all of them. And the magic is when you're working all of them together, but don't try to learn them all at once. You'll just be totally overwhelmed.
Like, you'll see, it's like too, you guys, like if you're like this neighborhood, for example, when you're like, oh my gosh, there's something built in 2005, there's something built in 1880, you can, the easy way, go like this and then go bam, bam. I want to get rid of anything that was built before 1980. Of course, you can do it in your criteria, but again, you can do refine, you can do discard or narrow. If you discard, it allows you to undiscard.
You also might want to just take a quick peek at that 1880 house and see if it had a total renovation in 2000, because sometimes they have, especially in a neighborhood like Toby Road, people have some money over there. So maybe it's effectively a 2000 house. with an
Exactly.
1880 footprint. So
Absolutely.
don't discount them out of hand. Take a quick peek because you may be surprised.
Absolutely. Especially with someone like Pittsford, like Toby Road, but like, for example, if you're in Brighton or you're in Greece and, what you see ladder road comes up here, you might want to remove all your ladder roads because main road houses are different. And when this is one thing too, is, you know, for example, I forgot, and that's one thing I didn't touch on. If you have, you have a house coming up it's on a main road in Greece, you might go in here and go, okay, Maiden Lane, Lada. So you might do all your ranch homes because you have a ranch coming up in Greece. So you say, let me look at let me look at the neighborhood first. Okay. So I would look at the neighborhood first and I would say, what is this neighborhood doing over the last 3 years? And what's this neighborhood done in the last year? What did this neighborhood do 6 years ago? I want to know the history. I want to go in there and be able to say, this is what your neighborhood's doing. You had 20 houses listed in 2015, and now you're down to 10 houses. So maybe the gentrification's over and it's a little bit more rare to live in your neighborhood. Well, now I want to look at what ranches in Greece are doing all by themselves. How does the value change if you're just looking at ranches versus all styles? And you can look at that and extrapolate some findings of your own. Then I might say, well, God, my house, and I did have a listing on Maiden Lane that was a ranch. This was over the summer. I might say, well, you know what? Now I want to look at main roads in Greece and how does that affect the value? Because you want to be able to go in there and say, it's great. You have a beautiful ranch. It's on Maiden Lane or on North Greece Road or on, Long Pond, but whatever main road it's on, and you want to say, but you know what? Sometimes being on a main road can impact what the price sold will be. So you want to look at how main roads are changing. And that's kind of where you're looking at that summary chart that I showed you guys. And you're seeing, oh, look, when I'm just looking at main road homes that list on main roads, well, looky here, the sold price per square footage is at full $10 less than if you're in a neighborhood setting. So those are kind of things that are going to help you become that expert and build your confidence, whether you're on the sell side or you're on the buy side. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Maggie, because that couldn't be more, further from the truth. Same thing if you're in a rural area and you got somebody with 12 acres and you're like, I've never sold anything with acreage before. I don't know what I'm doing. I did that. I went into Marion in Ontario County and Wayne County,
Wayne,
and I went and I figured out doing this, how much land is worth in Wayne County. And then you got to look and say, okay, but is the land developable? Is it able to be developed? Is the land cleared? Those are all different things that impact value. So you're going to dig in and you're going to start looking at how these different things have sold over time. That's where the 10 years comes into play, because sometimes the rural stuff, you're getting 3 sales a year. That's not going to help you. You really need to understand, well, I'm sitting on 12 acres of land that can't be developed because it's a swamp. Well, maybe it's good for someone who's got horses or someone who wants a farm. Well, you got to try and find that information. That's when you call the town and you say, what are the restrictions in your county for having horses or having farms or having animals? Just because you don't live in Marion doesn't mean you can't sell a 25-acre property in Marion. You can. Anybody can. Same thing with the old vintage homes. You got a house built in 1880 in Fairport, in the village of Spencerport, wherever it may be. Maybe it's in Parma. You're like, gosh, there's nothing for me to comp against. Well, maybe you look at West Side vintage homes. That's maybe when you're looking at the vintage homes built before 1920. That's usually when I'm looking at that vintage. It's usually 1920 or 1930 and before. And you're looking at the wider swath. Usually they are on main roads. So you want to tear apart the data by different viewpoints. You have like a crystal ball. You just want to flip it over on every side you can flip it and try and figure it out. And you're trying to tell a story, because not every house is going to be this colonial house in a neighborhood. You're going to have a ranch. You're going to have a raised ranch, which are hard to sell. You're going to have split levels. You're going to have vintage homes. You're going to have new builds. And you want to look at the different things that go into the uniqueness of a house and try to build a story around that. And that's what makes you into an expert. That's what gives you the confidence and gives you that credibility, where that person's going to go, if nothing else, they're going to go, oh my God, Melissa Parker just worked her ass off on getting all of this research together for me, when we know Melissa really just spent an hour, because she does this with her eyes closed. And they're going to go, my God, you did all this work for me. How could I not give you the listing? You know, and you add on to it. It's not always foolproof. Okay. I don't get them all, but you know, this does work a lot of times when you go in there and you're like, I'm competing against 2 other Howard Hanna agents. We all have the same tools. What am I going to do to set myself apart? Well, here you go. You go in there with this kind of stuff. You're going to blow them away. You're really going to impress them, guys. I know it. I know it.
Start small.
Yeah.
Start in a small area. Become the local expert, learn one thing really well at a time, and then just keep adding to what you're learning. Mm-hmm. And don't try to learn 5 counties all at once. Just start in a small area, become the local expert, and then you can start to spread, but don't start wide and you can't be a local expert in every county.
Correct. It starts small. Start with a buyer that you're working with now. Start with a seller that you're working with now. If you're a new agent and you're looking for those buyers, you know, think of your farm, where you're farming and where you're marketing to, you know, and make sure you're on the social media. And, you know, that's just as important as the Matrix and the Real Scout and all the tools we have, is going to those neighborhoods. Go there and have a meal, you know, or, you know, I know if you're not going out and doing stuff, you know, at least try to find them online, and, you know, you can talk about it. And, you know, if you've been to Moonstone Creamery, you know, maybe you're going to go, you buy a coffee for your client, you bring it, and you're like, oh, oh my God, I love this place. And then they go, oh, have you been to this place? No, I haven't. I'm going to check that out next week. You know, it kind of, you start making personal connections with them. And that's how you kind of build that loyalty with them, is they're like, wow, she does know the neighborhood. You know, I live in the city, but I know Irondequoit like the back of my hand. I know Fairport. I know Brighton like the back of my hand. I know where to go to get a good coffee, to get a good sandwich, to buy a nice scarf. And, you know, those are kinds of things that they care about too. When they're going to be moving into a neighborhood, you know, they're going to want to know about that. And you're not violating any fair housing, because you're not talking about schools. You're not talking about demographics. You're talking about a restaurant. You're talking about, you know, how they have this great festival, or how the Parrington Rec Center is fantastic and they do this and they do that, you know, kind of thing. Check out the rec centers, check out the different things. And, you know, it's just kind of get out there and learn, you know, especially now in this time, you know, kind of slows down for some of us in the fall. It's the perfect time for you. Get in there, play around, create your grids, call me, call Maggie. You know, we're here to help you guys. If you need help and you need a refresher, we're here for that. And of course, this is recorded too.
All right, it's 12:03.
It is 12:03. Thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed talking to you. It's obviously more fun in person. So again, thank you so much for coming, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Good job, Renee.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, Rick.
Bye.